I'm Erin Becker. I'm the director of the Cambridge Art Association, and I want to thank you for joining us for our November 19th virtual studio visit with Rebecca McGee Tuck. This will be recorded. It's also streaming live right now on Facebook, and the recording will post to our YouTube channel within a week. We launched our virtual studio visits back in April as a way to engage our community and to help out artists who had experienced cancellations of exhibits and open studios events and all of those things. And we are so excited to relaunch it today with Rebecca. She's going to be showing us around her studio, which is at Saxonville Studios. You will be able to use the chat box in the bottom part of the screen to ask questions throughout the event. At the end of Rebecca's tour, we will have a Q&A portion. Candace, our program coordinator, will unmute you and you can ask the question live. So we are going to switch the spotlight over to Rebecca. You can take it away.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to my studio. I'm here in Framingham at the Mill Contemporary Art Studios in Saxonville Mills. And I'm going to show you around and then give you, I guess we're going to take a little deep look into a couple things that I've made recently. So welcome. And I'm going to try to go as slow as I can without showing you how shaky my hands are. So anyway, here is the big widescreen view of my studio here. This over here is my wall of things that are done. I am setting up or installing my show at Arts Wooster today and tomorrow. So everything looks like ready to go and nice. It doesn't always look like this, but here we are. And I guess I wanted to show you just a little about a beginning about, because I'm a found object artist, I have a library here of stuff, collections. I don't know if you know the artist Mark Dion, but he had a show at the ICA called Memory Boxes. And so this is what I call like my memory boxes. It's all my collections. Here's my sea debris that I work with, especially lately, especially for my show coming up. And I have tons of things I have to show you. I have boxes of these sewing patterns because it makes a nice texture on top of things. Just for layering, I have boxes of doilies. I have boxes of metal things. And so it's kind of like just a grouping of all the good stuff that I like to use. So it's here when I need it. Now I'm gonna walk over. This is my desk with lots of wires and just all my tools. Some weird things too, like bones and I don't know, pens and stuff I use to connect things. I try to use a lot of different things to connect. I can't weld in the studio. My welding shop is in my basement or my garage at my house. And here at the back of my studio, this is my sewing table, which I've been doing a lot of sewing lately. And my wall of glues and various like varnishes and things like that. And my sister recently found on the side of the road hundreds of dolls. So I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with those, but I have them. I've been like cutting their hair off and using them for things, for texture and stuff like that. And their clothes, I'm sure I'll use for something. Here's some more of the artwork that's going to be taken down after this meeting to get packed up for my show. So it'll be pretty empty in here. So this is the last view of it all full and fun and exciting. The back wall of my studio is where I start working on things. These are a couple of works in progress that I began. The frame is the frame over here is a beginning of a weaving I'm gonna start. And this is kind of an experiment. It's a piece of clothing that I'm going to try to work on the same way in which I worked on these pieces here, which are collages on oil paintings. That this is my mother's, or my aunt's oil painting, the bases. And then I kind of think of it as like a shrine to my grandmother's house, or a memory shrine. And so I took my aunt's old oil painting and I cut it up. I put a zipper here. I sewed a zipper to it. And then I added like elements that made me think of how I felt when I was up in my grandmother's attic, like discovering all the fun cobwebby stuff that was up there. So this is called Piedmont, which is the street where my grandmother lived. And then I guess, let's see, I want to walk over here. Hope I'm doing this as slowly enough. So I wanted to talk about this piece. This piece is a giant jellyfish. And it's made entirely, it's called Happy Birthday Ocean. It's made entirely of balloons that I collected myself and some friends collected for me too, as I was walking along the beach. And there's a lot of trash balloons all the time. Like, I just don't use balloons. But anyway, here is 150 balloons that I made into a jellyfish sculpture. Inside, you'll see there's also balloons with debris that I collected, all different types of debris inside each of the balloons. And it's kind of like it is my protest against balloons. But this is, I called it Happy Birthday Ocean because I'm kind of tongue in cheek, like everyone has balloons for birthdays. And then, yeah, I find them tangled in seaweed. I find them like amongst rocks. If you actually look on my Instagram, you'll see a video of me literally standing at the beach and a balloon just washes up to shore right in front of me. So they just become trash all over the place. So I guess I gave you a little walk around. I wouldn't mind if anyone wanted to have me look closer at something or talk about something. I can certainly do that.
Sure. So if anyone has any questions, I apologize for the echo. I'm actually in the gallery today, and we can hear that Rebecca is in a real working studio space because someone is working on something in the background, which is awesome. I'm glad the people are there. If you have a question for Rebecca, there is in the reactions, there's, I think, a way to raise your hand, or you can just type into the chat box that you have a question. It looks like we have a question from Christina Hadjosi.
Hi, Christina.
Can we unmute Christina, Candace?
I'm unmuted now. Hi, Rebecca. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Nice to see you. I'm excited for you. I'm looking forward to the show. This looks really, I've really only experienced a few pieces of yours at a time being in shows and seeing you around. So I'm excited to see the big whammy of a whole lot of Rebecca love. I was just curious, do you, since I'm really into bookbinding and book arts and I teach altered books and things of that nature, do you incorporate the book ever as part of the disposable weird? There's a whole lot of discarded content that is already published that could be used, or do you know what found poetry is?
I don't know what poetry is, but if you give me an old book, it will be subject to being cut up and put into something. So
cool. Found poetry is when you're taking like a sheet of text and then obstructing to only leave certain words that you've picked visible. And I think on some levels you're doing that with the objects, because as you layer, certain things are being obstructed and others are becoming more predominant.
Well, I do have a piece here that's with words. This piece is about lies, and I wrote it with print blocks, stories we tell.
Oh.
But it's all in gold leaf with little, not poems, but with little white lies that people tell.
Cool.
So I do like to, I mean, I don't use a lot of words in my work, except for that piece. And
do you write on your work, or thoughts, or have like a journal or a diary or some sort?
the only journal I have is for my studio. Is I have a little journal that I write what I work on every day in my studio, just kind of like to say, oh, today I spent 4 hours here working on this, or signing up for this. I like to go back and you know, see how much time something took me, or just what I was doing.
Have you been doing that because of thinking in terms of pricing and business and valuation as an art process? I think a lot of artists neglect keeping a log like that. I'm just curious. Yeah.
I wish I could say I was doing it for that. It's really just to just think about what I was doing last week and how long it's been since I worked on something.
Yeah. Cool.
We're going to go to Mike for another question. Go ahead, Mike. You want to unmute yourself?
Hey, everybody. Rebecca, I'm a big fan.
Thanks.
I guess if you're a fan, you're big. It can't be a small. I'm a small fan. I like the fact that you go to the water's edge and you find objects and see what the sea gives us. My question goes to your color choices, what goes into that, your decision-making process. That's one question I always want to ask artists is, how do you decide what to put in, what to leave out? You know,
Yeah.
that's really,
Well, for
where to go.
objects, I guess it's whatever I find, and I'll choose. I guess I'm happy to say that I love the colors of all the ropes and debris that I find. The color, like if you just look at this piece up on the wall, like just that color palette is my favorite color palette. And I guess I choose colors that are, I'm kind of a jewel tone person, but if it's old and it has history, or it has some sort of any kind of wear and tear on it, that is more important to me than the actual colors. So like the history of objects put together. So if it's, I guess the patina of old is my favorite color and my favorite color palette. If that helps, I don't know, is there some?
Can you talk about your decision-making process? How you decide what to leave in and what to leave out?
God, I think I put everything in, and then I'm not afraid to go back in and tear it apart and start again. There's an artist, Mark Bradford, that I really like, who puts everything on his palette and then he scrapes it away. And I like to think I'm doing that with objects, because I there's never too much, in my opinion, to put on something, but I'll take it away. I don't know, I stare at things for a long time. I'll look at it, like there might be a time in my journal that I'll say, looked at this piece for an hour, and I literally will. I'll just sit there and look at it and try to think of what to take out or what looks good. And I just look a lot, I guess.
Thanks, Mike. Right. The next question is from Adriana.
Hi, can you hear me? Hi, Rebecca, how are you? I love pieces. I wish we were able to see them up close, but I guess that's what we have today. So I was wondering if the pandemic affected your work at all, you know, either the process or the finding things or not, objects, or your ideas, I guess. Anyway, I see that you have there a piece that is a critique or a commentary about balloons, and maybe you're into the climate crisis. So I wanted to know if the pandemic is also affecting you.
Definitely. If you go right now to the Piano Craft Gallery, I have a giant piece called Once Upon a Time Pandemic House. And it was made entirely during the stay-at-home order because I'm a found object artist. I go out and find things, I collect things, I go to yard sales and dumpsters. And I wasn't doing that then, so I had to find all my objects from within my home. Because we weren't going anywhere. So in that, it's all things collected at home, or then I found a way to like collect things via social media, like Facebook pages for yard sales, things like that, and people would leave stuff out for me. Yeah, I have like the reason why I started doing all the old oil paintings that my aunt made is because they were in my attic. So it's all about, I was just trying to change like how I did things, but at home. And I was working in my dining room instead of my studio. So I was eventually, when the weather got nice, if you see the pandemic house that I'm talking about, it's huge. It's 8 feet tall. So then I was working in my driveway.
Wonderful, wonderful. Is that in the Speak Up show at the Piano Craft? Oh, great.
Go see it.
Well, thank you. I can see it. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Adriana. The next question is from Kristen.
Yeah, hi. I don't know if you can hear me. Hold on.
Kristen, we can hear you fine if you want to just ask the question. You don't need to.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm like, I had my video off. Anyway, hi. Okay. My question is, and you kind of answered it previously, was do you use sort of donated found items, or do you yourself have to find it in order for it to have meaning in your piece?
As any found object lover knows, that eventually when you start collecting something, people come out of the woodwork with stuff that they have and give it to me. I'll sometimes come to my studio, and in front of my studio door will be stuff, and I accept it. And as for my sea debris work, I love the process of walking the rack line and physically picking it up and collecting it. But I do use a lot of stuff. So, and I love the fact that people are now collecting, thinking about me, because that means the beach is cleaner either way. And so I don't mind. To answer your question, I like to find it myself. I like to have like a feeling for it, but a lot of times people know what I like and they'll give it to me, and that'll be enough for me.
Gotcha. It's just, I've mentioned this before. I walk the beach every single day because I am an insane person, and but I'm always finding stuff like that, bits of line and all kinds of stuff. And I think of you on a regular basis because I see that stuff. And I thought, should I pick it? I mean, I pick up trash all the time anyway, but I didn't know whether there's stuff that you'd be interested in, or, like I said.
Line. Lately, I made a whole like totem-like thing out of buoys. You see, like, yeah. If you put it aside,
I mean, hell, I can fill a bag at some point. So,
thanks.
And your work is awesome.
Thank you. Oh, quickly, I wanted to show you this. I have this over here. That this up here is all quilted. I guess a quilt is a it's a balloon, and then I put fabric in the middle, and then another balloon. So I think that's technically a quilt, but I sew it all as it's quilted. So it's a quilted Mylar balloon jellyfish.
Cool.
So Rebecca, the next question is kind of a little bit about your background, and it's from Louise.
Yeah, hi Rebecca. I'm curious how you came to doing this kind of art, and what else is in your background?
I guess my whole family likes junk. I mean, I always remember going through dumpsters with my dad, and like going to yard sales, and we walk the rack line of the beach all the time, and my father always picks stuff up. I mean, it's just, and I also love things that have history, and so I collect, and so I don't know anybody in my family who doesn't collect things. Like I said, my sister found those dolls on the side of the road, and then she called me, "You want them?" And I said yes. So I just always have collected. I hope that answers.
Well, it does in part. But what moves you to then do something else with them?
Well, what moved me to do all my sea debris artwork was the fact that I was finding so much trash at the beach. And so it was kind of, I love found objects. And now I felt like I had to do more for the ocean and to keep it clean. And in fact, as part of my show, I've partnered up with Surfrider Foundation Massachusetts chapter. And I've made all these like little mini sculptures that if you go to my show and you feel compelled to like donate to a group that is helping clean up the beaches and actively making beach cleanups, then you can donate there and you can take home one of my little mini sculptures as my thank you for cleaning the beaches.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. Thanks, Louise.
I wanted to...
And Veronica is asking if we could see a close-up of the totem sculpture. Is that how, or is there a title?
Yeah, the title of that is Towaway Zone.
Towaway Zone, okay.
Let's see if I can, well, here, I'll give it far away because it's pretty tall, yeah. But I'll give it a close-up. And it's all, I just love all the textures of the buoys that were like in the water. It also has a bunch of, toys. I find a lot of toys on the beach, and it has another piece component to it, which is over here. But toys, speaking of toys, like I find so many toys. Here's a piece that I made. This is called Beach Toys 5 Cents, the High Cost of a Throwaway Society. And it's filled with beach toys that I found along the beach. So, I mean, there. I wish yeah.
And Rebecca, I have a question for you in terms of your process and its relationship with the materials that you're working with. Are there times where you find that the material is kind of guiding your, like, are you developing techniques with certain materials? Like, for instance, like the balloons, are you finding that you are using the balloons in a certain way and then kind of carrying that over to different pieces? Or are you just kind of like specifically using the balloons in one piece in a certain way? And then, so I'm kind of interested, because material, like these found objects are such a big part of your process and part of your work, how does that kind of dictate where you're going with certain projects?
I guess the exciting part is to try to figure out how to put things together. I'm always asking people about their process of how to like connect things, because I could weld, I could weave, I could sew. I use a lot of wire, and I find with my work I stuff things into things a lot, meaning it's kind of a collection thing. So this yellow piece here is all stuffed into bait bags, and that carries through a lot of my work. A lot of my work is like stuffed into things, and I had to figure out, I guess I just love to figure out how to put things together. So I had a vision of this being a giant jellyfish, and I was like, how do I do that? So the frame of it is actually an old Christmas wreath wire, like a big Christmas wreath wire. And then I wanted to make the jellyfish head, so I just sort of learned how to sort of quilt. And now I'll use that quilting process for something else, because I know my machine could handle that. So what else could my sewing machine handle to sew together? it's fun to find out.
Thanks. So is there another question, I guess, kind of off of what you just said? It seems like you have some like more representational pieces, obviously the jellyfish, but then there's kind of these more abstracted pieces that have like an element of containment to them, like you were saying. You're interested in kind of like this like stuffing. Can you speak a little bit about that, or is that something that interests you?
Well, I guess the funny thing is I think the stuffing of things starts when I'm walking along the beach, or it's because I'll find a bait bag, and then as I'm walking, this is before I knew that I was collecting and brought bags and carts and things with me, I'll stuff everything in it as I'm going, and I guess I just like that look of collection and mass amounts of stuff. And I guess I do it with a lot of things. It's in this piece up here, it's all, each bag is a bag stuffed from one day of walking the beach. So that piece represents like the whole summer, and every day was a bag of collected stuff. So I guess it's a way of journaling, like journaling what I did on that walk or something. I don't know. Something to think.
The collection process is actually part of the piece as well.
Yeah, definitely.
That's great. Thank you. Does anyone else have any other questions for Rebecca?
And while you're thinking about that, I'm going to share two things. First, because Rebecca brought up the pandemic house. This is the pandemic house that you can see at the Piano Craft Gallery right now, on view through November 29th. So time is running out. Get yourself to the south end. And there was a question about some of Rebecca's upcoming exhibits. So first of all, since you're on here anyway, hope you'll visit Rebecca's website, Rebecca McGee Tuck. You can find her on Instagram at Rebecca Bombshell Art, and also on Facebook at Rebecca McGee Tuck. These links are also listed on the event page, and we hope you'll go give her a follow. And this is where you can see her work both now and in December.
It's a very busy December because some of these shows were, well, the one from the Fountain Street was supposed to be in April, and we saw that we all know why that was pushed off. So it's exciting December this month.
Can you talk a little bit about the Arts Wooster exhibit?
Yeah, so that is my first solo show. I'm very excited about it, and it's entirely made of debris that I collected on the beach. There are 14 sculptures that'll be in there, and I'll be packing up, like I said, right after, and going there to start painting a wall and making an immersive experience. And it'll be online, and it'll be in person. They have gallery hours there, and it's up till January 31st. And I'll be doing in January an artist talk in the gallery that I'll put up on my my social medias. So if you follow, you can see what's going on for the show.
Cool. And this is part of Arts Wooster has a really great series where they provide material needs grants to artists, which I think is fabulous.
And we have one question from Iman. Iman, if you want to go ahead and ask your question.
Sure. I was wondering, first of all, thank you. And I love your work and getting to see your studio. And I was just wondering, you talked about the jellyfish pieces. You had like a vision of it. And I was just wondering, did it just kind of like come to you intuitively? Or was it something where you'd been like studying jellyfish, or just maybe it's hard to articulate even, but if there's just like anything more about how that vision came to you, or was it like a dream and you woke up and had it? I'm just interested in that.
Well, I guess just the fact that I sometimes I start sculptures and I don't finish them. And what I had hanging in my studio was a Christmas wreath wire, and then I tied pieces of material to it, and I experimented with a little plaster, which I never do. And it sat up there. I didn't know what to do with it. And then I had buckets and buckets of my Mylar balloons. And I guess I was thinking, what can I do with the balloons and this like half or partially done sculpture? And to me, it looked like a jellyfish with the things hanging down. And so from there, I just sort of went full steam into creating a jellyfish.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks, Iman. And the next question is from Brian. Go ahead, Brian. I think you have to unmute yourself. There you go. There you go.
How much effort do you put into naming your works, and what kind of accompanying background information do you put on the wall next to them, especially as to the origin of the pieces of what we'd be seeing?
That's interesting, because if it was up to me, I would write every single thing that I put into a sculpture like a recipe, because I think it's important what's inside of it. But some places when I put up on the wall, they don't have room, or it's just too much information. And I don't like just saying like mixed media. I like to, it feels better if it says more about what's inside of it. So, and as for names, I really like names a lot, and I don't like, I do think a lot about them. So I'll sit and think of a concept, and then I guess I just I Google things and I think about memories. I look at the piece and I try to come up with words. And I guess a Happy Birthday Ocean, I like that name because it felt like balloons are for happy birthday. It was like tongue in cheek about like people polluting the ocean with their debris. So I do think a lot about names. That I don't know how I wish I had a better like concrete answer how I come up with them, but I don't put untitled on anything, and I don't put obvious names. I like to have it more kind of a secret that will make people think, and that I'll know what it means.
Thank you for doing that. That's I think it's so much better when you see a work that there's, you know, something that goes with it. And, you know, a lot of times as a writer, it's really tough if someone puts untitled with a work because they just don't understand how much they hurt their own process. Because if you share a picture or someone, you know, sees someone shows a picture and you want to get in touch with the artist or the gallery, you know, you need something a bit more than untitled. And one quick follow-up, at the show at Arts Wooster, would you say each piece is an individual, or is there a conversation going on between them?
Everything's a conversation because it's all from my journeys along the rack line, but each piece was individually thought of, and you know, each piece has like love put into it, I guess. So, but they all.
Thank you. Thank you. Look forward to seeing you here in Worcester.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Rebecca. Do we have any other questions? Rebecca, did you want to add anything a little bit about your process, or?
I guess I feel like I said a lot. I don't want to say anything. I just think this is so great. I'm glad that I love having people come in to my studio. I wish that I could have people come and visit. And so this is a great opportunity to show behind the scenes of what I'm doing, since I'm just here by myself, you know.
Yeah, no, it's a great way to connect to everyone right now. And Louise, it looks like she has one question for you, so I'm going to add her here.
Yeah, thanks so much for letting us see your studio, and it always makes me feel better when other people's places look like collections. But if there was anything else that you would want in your physical workspace, what would it be?
in my physical workspace. Well, I really wish my welding materials could come in here because that would make life easier. So I wouldn't have to weld in one place and bring it to fiber it up in here. But I don't know. I think that I've been working in this studio for over a year, and I feel like I've made it ready for me to do just about anything in. So and without being too messy, I guess. So I guess I would like a better sewing machine, an industrial one.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Add that to your wish list. The holidays are coming. All right, well, we will save the chat because there's lots of really great compliments for you as well, Rebecca, so we'll share that with you. As I mentioned at the start, this was recorded, so if you missed any part of it or if you know someone who wanted to watch it, it will be live on our YouTube channel very soon, and the live recording will also be posted to our Facebook page. I want to thank Rebecca for welcoming us into her studio today. I did share in the chat the location of all of her upcoming exhibits, so I encourage you to check them out, whether it's in person or online. We're not sure if we're going to have a studio visit in December, but we do have one in January with David Lee Black, who is one of our exhibiting artists in January. And so you can check out our website to find out upcoming dates. And if you're not signed up for our email list, I hope you'll sign up for it. Our next event that we have coming up is our December 2nd Small Works Holiday Sale. It's a great way to support local artists, buy artwork that's original for $100. That will all be online, December 2nd at 6 p.m. And until then, I hope everybody stays warm now that it officially feels like winter. We hope to see you in person or online again very soon. Take care.
Thanks, everybody.